The beautiful province of Ontario, Canada. In Toronto, it's game 2 of a 3-game series between the Sox and the AL East Toronto Blue Jays. Good evening, everybody. Jason Benetti, Steve Stone along with you. Sox got a win yesterday in comeback fashion. 7-5 the final score, and most of that offense came after the 6th inning.
This is becoming something that the Sox are getting used to, and if you score late runs, you're going to win your share of ball games. And yesterday, trailing 5-1, Adam Eaton comes up, takes it by Troy Tulowitzki, and it's now a 5-3 game. They made it 5-4, and then Todd Frazier comes up, lines one against the wall, runs 5 and 6 score, and then it was up to the bullpen, and the bullpen made it hold up. What an exciting ball game it was last night. There you see 32 runs this year in the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning. The batting average, 287, 7 home runs as opposed to none last night. They didn't need it. They hit the ball all over the place and took advantage with some good base running, and there was a lot of good defensive work, and so they won the first game of a series, which Toronto has had a problem doing.
Yeah, the assumption is today that the Sox won't need a whole lot of run support because the stopper is once again on the mound, left-hander Chris Sale.
When Chris Sale goes to the mound, normally you don't need a lot of runs, but this Toronto team is not a normal team. They can score. However, the Angels of Los Angeles didn't do a whole lot of scoring against Chris Sale last time out. He was absolutely brilliant. 74 straight men he has faced without issuing a walk. Albert Pujols thought he had one, only to walk away. Then Giovanni Soto looks at a slider, an unbelievably good slider, and he goes down on strikes, so Sale is rolling right along at 4-0 this year. He's been absolutely brilliant. There's the matchup. Chris Sale 2-2 lifetime against the Toronto Blue Jays, the ERA 2.57. On the other side, R.A. Dickey 2-5 against our Sox with an ERA of 7.40. Keep your eye on Jose Abreu. He's been slumping, but he's hit 3 home runs lifetime against R.A. Dickey, so maybe tonight's the night.
May have to recalibrate that radar gun with Sale versus Dickey. The knuckleball against the hard-throwing left-hander out of Florida Gulf Coast from Rogers Center. First pitch is coming next. Chicago White Sox baseball is brought to you by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers, it's Miller time. Honda, start something special with a great deal on a Honda, now at your Honda dealer. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Ford, America's best-selling brand 6 years running, inviting you to check out our fuel-efficient lineup at your local Ford store or at localfordstores.com. And by your Chicago and Northwest Indiana Hyundai dealers. Test drive their all-star lineup today. Visit buyhyundai.com. Sunny inside Rogers Center. Chicago White Sox baseball in high definition is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Sox at 14-6, and Jose Abreu, one of the big guns in the lineup, hitting just 176 so far. It's great news the Sox are out to this start, even without his best work so far.
Well, he's been doing very good work at first base defensively as this entire unit has come together on the defense. And Abreu has always hit R.A. Dickey. We told you about that in the open, so perhaps this is a night where he does break out of it. And if he does, those boys in the middle, Abreu and Frazier, are going to light it up.
Well, you say the middle, it's got to be the middle of something. So let's show you the White Sox lineup that they are in the middle of. Adam Eaton had his first RBI since opening day yesterday, had 2 of them. Eaton, Rollins, then Abreu and Frazier. Melky Cabrera has been hot recently. Laurie, the former Blue Jay. Avi Garcia, a 2-hit night yesterday. Navarro and Jackson rounded out for Robin Ventura. Steve, the defense, please.
John Gibbons is going to run him out there this way. Michael Saunders in left field. Kevin Pillar, who John Gibbons says saves a lot of runs, along with Jose Bautista. And it's Matt Dominguez, just called up for the minor leagues. Troy Tulowitzki, Darwin Barney, and Edwin Encarnacion. Josh Tolle gets a nod behind the plate because he is a knuckleball specialist as a catcher. And R.A. Dickey is on the hill. He's 1-2, his ERA 6.10. Our ball club, for whatever reason, has always had very good luck with the knuckleballer.
Well, R.A. Dickey started out the season last year struggling and got better as the season progressed.
There you look at the umpires. Alan Porter, one of the best young umpires in the league, with John Tompane at first. Lance Barksdale at second, and the crew chief, Dan Isonia, at third base. And there is a look at R.A. Dickey.
And to that point, first 11 starts last year, 5.53 ERA, 3.12 in his last 21 outings.
Well, talking with Buck Martinez, who does the television for the Blue Jays, he said that for whatever reason, R.A. Dickey gets off to slow starts. Then seemingly the control and command of that knuckleball comes to him. There you look at Buck Martinez, former major league catcher. We'll talk a little bit about his explanation on just how you handle a knuckleball if you're going to catch it, as Josh Tolle is. So we're ready to play baseball. Take it away.
Let's go ahead and do that. Stoney, thanks for joining us, everybody, tonight, whether you're on My 50 or via MLB Network. As Adam Eaton, Jimmy Rollins, and Jose Abreu bat against R.A. Dickey, whose first pitch is low, ball 1. I asked Adam Eaton for the game for his 15-second scouting report on the knuckleball. He said, if it's high, let it fly. If it's low, let it go, and swing hard just in case.
That's usually what most hitters will tell you about the knuckleball, because when it's down, it has a tendency to dip in the dirt. If you can get one up, many times they come in just rolling. The rolling or tumbling knuckleball are the ones that get hit awfully hard.
So what should we be watching tonight? What's a successful knuckleball to your eyes and to the viewer's eyes?
Make sure that it's fluttering. In other words, moving in a lot of different directions as it's coming in, as opposed to rolling.
There's strike 1, 3-1.
There's an example that R.A. Dickey used a 3-0 fastball, but he's been getting hurt on that. And Josh Tolle told him, when you're not leading off an inning, go to something else. And he threw back-to-back fastballs and got 2 strikes.
3-2 for Eaton, who's just short of 300 on the year batting average-wise. Payoff pitch. Tulowitzki at short, knocks it down and has no play. Eaton is safe.
It's going to be an interesting call, because Troy Tulowitzki in that Blue Jays uniform hasn't made an error since being traded over here from Colorado. And there's error number 1. First time he has misplayed a ball in a Blue Jay uniform. So Adam Eaton aboard. And a promising way to start.
That's a tough ball to handle. Never really made his own hop on it. So Eaton on for Jimmy Rollins, who's 9 out of 27 career against R.A. Dickey. 41-year-old right-hander.
Yeah, usually if you wait back on a knuckleballer, you have a better chance. That's why most big swingers don't hit the knuckleball well. But there's a few exceptions to that. Jose Abreu, one of them. I remember Dave Kingman. He killed knuckleballers.
Rollins, a smash right field and foul. 0-2.
Ron Kittle from the White Sox, another guy that appreciated a knuckleball as it was swirling out of the ballpark off his bat.
Ron appreciates a good story every once and again too, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He's a great interview. He is a one-question interview. Doesn't matter how much time the interview lasts.
2 strikes on Rollins. Nobody out first inning. And a ball and 2 strikes to Jimmy Rollins, who last night was 3 out of 5. He scored twice. He drove in a run and doubled in the 9th. How much can you steal off of R.A. Dickey?
If you're guessing knuckleball, you're in pretty good shape because he's going to throw it 80-85% of the time, and that's why you have to have a decent move to first. He's got quick feet to first base. He also is on the first base side of the pitching rubber, which makes it a little easier for that move to first.
One and 2 to Rollins. Eaton at first. In the air, right field, and Bautista for out number 1.
Well, take a look at the 3 home runs that Jose Abreu has against R.A. Dickey. That was a knuckleball. And they both came in 14, and he tried to sneak a fastball by him. Probably not the best idea, as it was lined out of the ballpark.
Jose 4 out of 9 against Dickey with those 3 homers. And there is strike 1. Tell you about our picks to click tonight. We had all former Blue Jays last night.
Yes.
On the picks to click. The Blue Jay revenge game went well for the Sox. What a comeback from 5-1 down.
Especially against Marcus Stroman, their number 1 pitcher, a guy that was sailing right along before hitting the speed bump in the 7th, and then the bullpen didn't help him out very much, and the Sox came back.
0-2 on Abreu. Well, Stroman was pretty frustrated after the game, and some folks thought maybe it was directed toward his bullpen, which gave up the lead, and Stroman corrected that immediately following and said, look, I was mad, but I was mad at myself for putting the team in a situation where I needed the lead to be cinched up. This could end the top of the first. Barney, Tulowitzki, and Encarnacion. Error, nothing more against Dickey, and will play bottom 1 from Toronto after this. In baseball, and here's the lineup. Michael Saunders back at the top, in for Ezekiel Carrera, Donaldson, Bautista, and Encarnacion. The Thunder in the middle with Tulowitzki, Kevin Pillar, Matt Dominguez up from AAA Buffalo. Darwin Barney and Josh Tolley, the personal catcher for R.A. Dickey, Steve.
Let's take a look at the defense and how Robin's going to put them out there tonight. It's Melky Cabrera, Austin Jackson, Adam Eaton in the outfield. Eaton had a wonderful throw last night. Todd Frazier, Jimmy Rollins, Brett Lawrie, and Jose Abreu in the infield with Yonder Navarro for the second straight night behind the plate. And Chris Sale on the hill. Trying to win his 5th in a row. One other time in his career, he started out 5-0. One complete game. Opponent's batting average a paltry 162.
He has not walked a batter in 74 consecutive hitters. Ball 1 to Saunders, who's hitting .345, slugging .569.
Saunders has always had pretty good at-bats against Chris Sale, which is surprising for left-handers.
Lawrie at second, smothers it, and got the out. Nice play by Lawrie.
Pulled Jose Abreu to the outfield side of the bag, but very good play on both ends. Good effort here and a good effort there. This is the first year they haven't had an artificial surface where the dirt is, and when it hits the dirt, it speeds up. Lawrie with a good dive to his left. And so infielders have to get reacquainted to an infield they've never played on before, especially the Blue Jays, who play here 81 times a year.
And maybe even more if it's anything like last year. Team got to the championship series in the first playoff run since '93.
They haven't got it together yet, but they will. This is a good team.
Right side, Eaton going back and short of the warning track. Squeezes out number 2. Donaldson retired.
Last time out against the Angels was a different outing for Chris Sale in that he only struck out 3 guys. Now, they made more contact than most teams make against Chris, yet they really didn't hit the ball very hard at all. And so what he was trying to do was limit his pitches to go deeper in the ball game, which is something he accomplished. But to see him only strike out 3, most unusual.
He feeds over a strike to Batista, who was 2 for 3 yesterday.
And there's an example. 89-mile-an-hour fastball, or some guys will call it the batting practice fastball, followed by a vicious slider, and there's another one that made him dance.
That'll clean you out pretty quickly in that batter's box.
0-2 pitch. Navarro wants it inside, and Chris gets it way in.
What do you think of those Randy Johnson comparisons to Chris Sale?
Randy threw harder. Chris has a much better changeup. So a bigger variety of pitches. Randy was very intimidating at 6'10". Chris equally as intimidating at 6'6".
And he walks his first batter in 77 hitters.
Going 0-2, I think Chris is probably unhappy with himself. Bautista has been very patient for a slugger. That's 20 walks.
Second most in baseball entering today.
Only Paul Goldschmidt with 21 has more, and he's a slugger also. Somewhat surprising last night for Encarnacion. He almost hit the ball out in right center field. This is usually a guy that tries to pull just about each and every pitch. As you can see by the last one, he rolled over, although that pitch was low and in, and that's about all he could do with it.
He's got 3 doubles out of his last 5 hits, and huge extra base hit potential in this Jays lineup. I was talking to Zach Putnam, who pitched for the Sox in game 1 of this series. He said it just never stops. There's another big bat next always. Called strike 2.
Encarnacion with a double, plating 2 runs in the first inning. That gave Toronto the lead in the first last night.
Runners off. Navarro's throw is waiting, and they get the final out. of the home first. Batista gunned down by the former Jay. No score after one.
Both catchers, Alex Avila with a right hamstring problem, and Kevin Smith slated to get his first major league start, only to go on the DL with a bad back. The injury report is brought to you by Dr. Anthony Romeo Orthopedics. If you have any shoulder or elbow problems, go to RomeoOrthopedics.com or call 312-432-2342. And for Kevin Smith, imagine what it's like. You're getting your major league debut, something you've waited a lifetime for, only to find out that the back seized up on him and on the DL, and who knows what will happen from there.
And imagine how much pain he had to have been in to pull himself from his first major league game.
A lot of pain, a lot of frustration, and hopefully he gets back and is ready to go after the 15 days.
Two strikes on Frazier, who's hitting .224. His batting average on balls in play at .218, which is quite low for his career, and suggests that his batting average will rise throughout the course of the year, as we would expect. He's been hitting the ball well the last 7 days. Fly ball, middle of the field. And Bautista makes the call in right. First inning was so quick we didn't get our picks to click in. And also because Steve's leading, so we figured we'd wait some. You're going with Frazier. The crew's got Avi Garcia. And I'll take Jimmy Rollins tonight.
Did you assign me the picks to click after that at bat?
Oh, yeah. You can have Frazier after he's 0 for 1.
I automatic 0 for 1. Okay,
yeah.
Thanks.
Look, it's a healthy handicap. Clearly, you're the best at this, so we might as well take from you. Ball 1 to Melky Cabrera.
Looking at run differential, the Sox lead the American League with a +16 run differential. And that's without really starting to hit the baseball. But the pitching has been so overwhelming that opponents are having a hard time scoring. Last night, an exception. Toronto got 5, still lost.
Now, you talked about it during the game, though. Miguel Gonzalez, who made his first start for the Sox last night, did everything he could to get deep into that game and keep the Jays at the 5 they had early.
Well, he was into the 6th inning. He wound up going 5 1/3, even though he gave up 11 hits. The bullpen took over after that, as it's been doing quite a bit this year. Matt Albers has absolutely been untouchable. David Robertson, with 8 saves, leads the league.
Zach Putnam got the win, throwing an inning and a third of clean relief. 3-2 to Cabrera. That ball stayed up, and he ripped it to center at Kevin Pillar. 2 down.
Kevin Pillar means so much to this ball club because he can go get them alley to alley. And Bautista can't throw much anymore. Pillar, with the range he has, and he's one of the best center fielders in baseball. You don't hear a lot about him, perhaps because he is here north of the border, but you can appreciate him when you watch him every day.
He was second among American League outfielders last year with 21 defensive runs saved, second only to Kevin Kiermaier of the Rays as Laurie swings through strike one.
John Gibbons said before the game last night that he had to give him a day off. He said, but he's got to be in our outfield. He means that much to us. He's been keeping the knuckleball in the zone early. 18 of 26.
Strike three. First punch out for R.A. Dickey, who's faced the minimum through his second inning. Bottom two next.
To fight.
Chris Sale will face Edwin Encarnacion and get a result this time. Last time, bottom one, Bautista was thrown out trying to steal at second, and Encarnacion left with the bat in his hand.
It's a pretty good pitch. He did not get the call. That ball swept over the plate, certainly, before Navarro gloved it.
Left field, Melky Cabrera sizes it up for out number one. White Sox fans, vote now for your favorite moments and milestones from the first 25 years of U.S. Cellular Field. Head-to-head matchups run through May 19th, and the defining moment will be revealed during homecoming weekend, presented by the Village of Bedford Park, May 20th through the 22nd. Visit whitesox.com/USCF25 to vote today. What, pray tell, as Tulowitzki takes a strike, Steve Stone, is your top moment at U.S. Cellular Field that you can recall?
I think coming back to baseball, doing my first game. I mean, it was just great to get back again and get back to the game that I truly loved. And I got a chance to do radio with Ed Farmer, really enjoyed it. And it reminded me that it's a wonderful place to be during the baseball season, that I would rather be no place else than that. And that was probably for me the defining moment, showing, you know, what you miss when you're away from something you truly love. So that for me was my my best moment at U.S. Cellular Field.
Well, it was very heartwarming. Hearts are warm in two countries right now.
Oh my God. Well, that's only because it is, in this case, happens to be true.
Inside 3-2 for Tulowitzki. But all joking aside, this season already we've seen a triple play that's never been turned before. We've seen a game end on a base runner being hit with a ball last night, Tulowitzki.
We also have seen a team that's had so many problems on the road early in the season the last 3 years find themselves 8-3 on the road this year. That's been exciting.
Three and two from Sale. Upstairs, second walk for Chris Sale today.
With Tulowitzki at first base, this chopper in the infield, which would have been a base hit, Tulowitzki hesitated. You can see him right there. Had he run through that play, I don't think they'd have gotten Saunders anyway. That ball was hit too high, but by hesitating, he ran into the ball, and that was that.
How about Brett Lawrie giving David Robertson the ball through that handshake line there?
Kevin
Pillar. Strike one. It'll be on eBay very soon, I'm sure. Pillar 6 for his last 12 to bump the average up to 266. Lawrie makes the call, and 2 down. You said it earlier, you've seen a lot of baseball, but there has been some odd stuff in the first few weeks for this Sox team.
Odd things happen, usually good things. So we've seen some wonderful players have a terrible series, as Albert Pujols did against the Sox in our ballpark. We've also seen some remarkable defense. Todd Frazier has already supplied a highlight reel of defense.
He's been outstanding. The counterpart today for Matt Dominguez, who's up from AAA Buffalo, where he was 15 for his last 31.
You may remember Dominguez from his days with Houston. As a young player, he was one of the really highly touted youngsters to come up through that system. Has big power. For a while, the Astros thought he would be there for a long time. It didn't work out that way. Certainly not going to play third base here every day with Josh Donaldson, but he's trying to fill a spot.
Well, they've had him playing some first base in the minors as well. It's not necessarily a place where you're going to get a lot of time here either, with Encarnacion across the way.
Donaldson not playing third because he was hit by a pitch from Liam Hendricks. That was Saturday. Still nursing a sore leg. And that was the get off me ball swing, because that slider almost hit him in the chest. He swung at it and fouled it over the Blue Jays dugout, which is pretty tough for a right-hander to do.
One and two from Sale to Dominguez. Navarro wants it high, and Sale goes to first.
If Tulowitzki tries to steal with that lead, it'll be remarkable, as Buffalo was kind to Matt Dominguez. 311, a couple of home runs, but 14 driven in.
Called strike three, not nearly as amiable. The Chris Sale breaking ball here in the majors. After 2, no score.
Third inning triple play promotion. Text Subway 3 to 97999 right now, and the 300th texter will win a $30 gift card to Subway restaurants in the Chicagoland area. Subway, fresh is what we do.
Wasn't it the 30th texter yesterday?
I don't believe so.
I thought it might have been are they changing it every day? They might be changing it every day. Cross you up a little bit.
It could very well be. Maybe next time it'll be the 3,000 texter.
You got to wait a couple days for the 30,000th texter. See, people say Sox math is too hard sometimes, but that's a lot of texters.
I'm psyched up today for Sox math.
Are you?
I think I got it.
You already have the answer. You don't even know the question?
True. The thing that makes R.A. Dickey as tough as he is when he is tough is that he changes speeds on that knuckleball. Not a whole lot of guys who've come up with a knuckleball can do it as well as Dickey can.
How much does pitching indoors change the knuckleball for him, you think?
You would rather pitch outside, and you'd rather have the wind blowing in your face, because the more wind, the more it can grab the seams and make the ball flutter.
Garcia puts a charge into it. Left center field. This ball is up and out of here. Back onto the field of play. Avi Garcia gives the Sox the lead.
It's home run number 3, run batted in number 6. And last night, the Sox, who did not hit the ball out of the ballpark, enjoying their first home run of the series. This knuckleball didn't do much. That one stayed in the middle of the plate. And with the philosophy of, if it's high, let it fly, that's exactly what Avi did.
Down the left field side and foul for Dioner Navarro. And Avi Garcia, who came in yesterday, 1 for his last 23, is now 3 for 5 of the series.
That was a big night for Avi last night because he was facing a tough right-hander, and Ravi Ventura said this was going to be a challenge for him. Marcus Stroman is one of the best young pitchers around, and for 6, he was throwing it real well. He just kept missing his spots in the 7th. Looked like he ran out of gas, and Avi, however, had a double in the 5th when he was throwing real well.
1-2 on Navarro, who was pressed into duty yesterday about an hour before the game. Happy young man, 24-year-old Avi Garcia. Navarro wasn't supposed to play in yesterday's game. It was Kevin Smith's debut that was all teed up. And Dioner was scheduled to do a pregame interview with one of the Jays networks here, being a former Blue Jay, and he had to ask out of it in order to go put his gear on and get ready.
They certainly loved him here.
To the right of second, into the shift, and Tulowitzki.
There was another benefit of having Navarro on this team, and talking with a lot of people around the Blue Jays, one of the things they said was Navarro is able to take a look at a pitcher, study him for a bit, and pick up where he might be tipping his pitches. And that used to be something done quite a bit in the major leagues. Now not quite as much. However, now they have the advantage of all the tape they can use. You can see a pitcher throw as many pitches as you want, and you can see any differential in whatever pitch comes. So it would be easier today. However, Navarro does it really well, kind of back to the old school where you had to try to pick it up, and the sooner you did, the more effective you were against a given pitcher.
2-0 on Jackson, and Austin chops at third base. Dominguez charges, tests out the bare hand. Save, Austin Jackson. Infield single.
Matt Dominguez makes a very good play. He was playing deep. Have to catch it, throw it in one motion. He couldn't get it done. So he did everything he could do defensively. It's just that Austin was about a half a step too quick for him.
So Jackson is on for the first time this series with a hit. He did walk and score in last night's 7th inning, the big inning for the Sox with 5 runs. Strike to Eaton. And on your point about Dioner Navarro, remember in spring training, John Danks had that one start, and Navarro found something, felt like John was tipping a pitch, told him, and the next 3 outings were very strong.
John Reilly is hoping that he found it last time out. He gave up a 2-run homer to Mike Trout, which a lot of people will do this year. And that's all he gave up to a pretty good Angel lineup. So hopefully the disaster of the first 2 starts led to a very good third start. You know what we're going to see pretty soon?
What's that?
Adam Eaton, who was second on the team in home runs last year, is going to start to hit the ball out of the ballpark. He's very strong. He's content as a leadoff hitter to go the opposite way, but as the weather heats up, we're going to start to see him hit the ball out.
Well, it's 68 and sunny in here tonight.
Very pleasant.
Yeah.
The wind a huge factor, however.
Rounding up to 0 miles an hour. 2-1. Second base, could be 2. Barney, Tulowitzki, there we go again. Second time, 4-6-3 for the Jays infield, but the Sox take the lead on an Avi Garcia solo homer. Darwin Barney greets the bottom of the third with a single to the left side, and the former Gold Glover is on with the first hit against Sale.
He gets one down the middle and hits it awfully hard right by Jimmy Rollins. What Chris is doing is what Justin Verlander started to do when he was still completely dominating in Detroit.
Which is?
He didn't use his fastball, his big fastball, till the game moved along some. He would try to get as many outs as he could, throwing 90, 91, 92. He still had 98 in his back pocket, but he just didn't show it to hitters all that often. Chris has been doing the same.
He's thrown a lot of strikes to left-handers this year, 7th most out of 144 qualified starting pitchers. About 70% strikes to lefties.
Not surprising. Number one, he doesn't see too many of them. So in this situation, Tolle is starting because he's going to start every time that R.A. Dickey starts. Not an enviable task for any left-hander facing Chris Sale.
And it's an interesting stacking of the lineup as well for Gibbons, because he's got the lefties back to back. He's got a lefty in 9, and then Saunders at the top, a left-hander too. Frazier in at third, and another check on Barney.
One of the reasons why he did that is he thought of using Kevin Pillar in the 1 spot. And as a leadoff hitter, he only hit 188. Moved him down in the order. He's hit 387 since moving down. So if you have a guy that just isn't comfortable leading off for whatever reason, you can't keep throwing him out there. So he is valuable. We talked about his defense, but he also hits much better down in the order, and that's exactly where he is tonight. Number 6 in the order.
Popped it up. Abreu. That's a bonus for the Sox. A bunt gone awry for Tolley. Sox fans, join us Saturday, May 21st at 1:10 p.m. against the Royals. All fans ages 21 and over get a 25th ballpark anniversary canvas presented by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner and official beer of your Chicago White Sox. Get your tickets today, whitesox.com, or call 866. The Sox game. Those, we had the one from last year on the prize shelf recently. Those are beautiful.
Yes, sir. And unfortunately, we couldn't bring the prize shelf with us, so we have the virtual prize shelf.
Well stocked with beautiful items for you to win later on tonight. Saunders takes a ball.
Tolley hadn't had a sacrifice all year, asking a guy to do something that he hasn't done, and sometimes proves difficult, as with the technique of Tolley on that bunt.
Well, Darwin Barney, with Sale's attention to him, you would think is the second coming of Ricky Henderson, but Barney has 22 career major league stolen bases. It's close to Ricky.
Not the fastest man around.
Center field, Austin Jackson. An audible groan for Saunders upon contact, and 2 out.
But one of the reasons why he's unhappy with himself is he got a hanging slider. That ball right in the middle of the plate. You don't see that too often from Chris Sale. So Saunders knew that he had a golden opportunity and just got under it. Twins have announced they're calling up a very talented young pitcher. And he's one of their top prospects, Jose Berrios. So we should see him next time we see the Twins.
Which is that next homestand.
Yep.
Boy, a lot of changes in Minneapolis as Donaldson goes swinging at the first pitch. Max Kepler, the highly thought of outfielder, sent down, and Byron Buxton as well, who just was not hitting when the Sox were there.
Now, they wanted him to play center field. They traded Aaron Hicks because of that, but Buxton hasn't been able to take over.
Twins have opened the year at 6-14, the only team right now in danger of dropping out of the Central race, with the Sox leading with the best AL record at 14-6. Off the plate, 1-1.
Donaldson has big power to all fields, as we've seen. And with the guys up behind him, he scored 21 runs. That leads the American League in that department.
By contrast, because we love contrast, you and your pink collar and your gray sweatshirt.
Yes.
The leading run scorer on the Sox team is Melky Cabrera with 10.
Now, here's the thing with Donaldson. All you have to do if you're hitting ahead of Bautista, Encarnacion, and Tulowitzki is get on base and then have 2 legs, and you're going to score a lot of runs.
It's outside 2-2.
Those guys behind you can really hit.
Maybe even just get on base.
Bautista 16 driven in, Encarnacion 14 driven in. Tulowitzki, who's not swinging the bat well, still has 10 driven in.
2-2. In the air, third base side, Todd Frazier secures it, and Sale is out of the inning after a leadoff single for Barney. 3 deep at Rogers Center, 1-0 Sox. And here at Rogers Center, it's Sox baseball. Jason Benetti, Steve Stone along with you, and time for Sox math. You ready for it?
I am ready for it, and Chris Sale, who's rolling right along through 3, has the lead, something the Sox don't do early. They don't score early. They do score late, and that's held them in good stead at 14-6.
1-0 lead for the Sox, which they had last night. And as you said, the late inning rally provided the heat for the Sox to get over top of the Blue Jays in the series opening win. As Jimmy Rollins stands in, who is 9 for 28 against R.A. Dickey, but 1 for 7 career against Tim Wakefield. And Jimmy said before the game, he said, I have no idea why I couldn't hit Wakefield's knuckleball, but I can hit R.A. Dickey's. He said he tried to go right-handed against Wakefield, didn't work. Tried to go left-handed, didn't work. Different types of knuckleballs? Okay.
Completely. There are some guys who came into this league as knuckleballers and threw it pretty hard. Now, career 3+ hit games, Jimmy Rollins on that list, a pretty illustrious list.
Strike 3 to him there, and 1 away. It's strikeout number 2 for Dickey. Here's your Sox math problem for the night. Hashtag Sox math on Twitter. First correct answer wins a prize. Take Wilson Alvarez's win total as a White Sox pitcher and add Bo Jackson's career MLB home runs and multiply by the number of American League teams with a better record than the White Sox. Your answer, hashtag Sox math. First in with the correct answer wins a prize from our virtual prize shelf tonight.
The virtual prize shelf is very good. We have a can of cocktail a la Canneberge, which is really nice for those of you who are not bilingual. That's cranberry juice. Very good. We also have one 4K camera. And that sounds pretty interesting because 4K actually is 4 times better than high definition.
Oh, wow.
And it shows every one of your imperfections. So it's really good to have. And we still have a Tim Hortons franchise that's on the shelf from last night.
And a possible hotel room in the hotel in center field. We're angling to get that on the prize shelf. Jose Abreu slugs one to right field, and this ball is into the corner, and a fair ball for Abreu, who throttles down into second base. A 1-out double for Jose.
Well, knowing that Jose has always liked what he's seen from R.A. Dickey, we figured tonight was the night for him, and he takes this just down the line. Another one of those knuckleballs that didn't do much. It stayed up. One that's described by most hitters as a tumbling knuckleball. That ball just fair. And an opportunity to add to the 1-run lead.
With Todd Frazier, who flied out to right first time up. A lot of good items and a lot of tweets already with hashtag SoxMath. So,
well, you only had 3 elements this time.
3 elements.
So it's a lot easier tonight than normal.
Do you have the answer already?
Euclid? Yeah, it wouldn't be fair. It really
wouldn't.
No, it wouldn't be fair because I can't enter because I would be disqualified immediately, and I don't want to give it away.
For having the wrong answer.
Of course.
2-0 to Frazier. Fouled off.
When talking to Buck Martinez, who fought some knuckleballers and didn't have much success, what he said was you can't go out and try to get it. You have to try to keep your wrist as loose as possible and then allow the ball to come to you and almost pluck it out of the air, depending on where the ball's going. Dominguez,
out number 2. How hard is that for a catcher then to fight those instincts of what you normally would do?
It's really difficult for most guys. The reason is you're going to get a lot of pass balls, and a lot of catchers don't take very kindly to pass balls. Also, a lot of them feel that it ruins their catching rhythm for when they face the normal pitchers, which is most of the time. That's why most knuckleballers have a specific catcher that is in when they're in.
Well, you said normal pitchers. You're saying knuckleballers are abnormal? You're saying just because
Yes.
R.A. Dickey climbed Kilimanjaro, he's abnormal?
Well, we have that in common. I climbed Camelback Mountain.
You heard the lyric in Toto's Africa about Kilimanjaro is as close as you've come.
But get me a good piton, and I'm your guy.
1-1 to Melky. Now 2 strikes. Sox lead on an Avi Garcia solo homer, top 3. That's a long way up. Kilimanjaro, by the way.
Yep.
Went with his former teammate Kevin Slowey. Strike 3. Melky was frozen. And the 1-out double does no damage to the 41-year-old knuckleballer R.A. Dickey. At Rogers Center, the Sox a 1-0 lead. Jason Benetti, Steve Stone, our entire crew. Thanks for joining us on this beautiful Tuesday evening in Ontario. Chris Sale fires ball number 1 to Bautista, who walked in the first and was caught stealing. 1-1.
After looking at an inside fastball off the plate, he aired it out, but he got the changeup. And with the differential of 12 miles an hour, he was way out in front. Now, Navarro did something pretty interesting, and he'll do that a lot. Before he received that ball, and that one tore up the catcher's glove, he looked at the feet of Bautista. He wanted to see if he was going to creep closer to the plate or move off the plate. Normally, pitchers will pick that up, but if they don't, a good catcher will do that, as Herm Schneider, our fine trainer, taking a look and will repair the catcher's glove.
In the air from Bautista. Adam Eaton moseys in for out number 1. Sox fans celebrate a special birthday or anniversary or even host a business function in a Diamond Suite at a White Sox game. Diamond Suites can accommodate groups from 10 to 100 guests. Single game packages include a great food menu, beverages, and parking passes. To purchase, visit whitesox.com/group. And if we have it our way, there's going to be Canadian cranberry cocktail at every one of those parties. Shortstop, Jimmy Rollins guzzles it up. 2 down. Have you ever tasted better cranberry juice? Is there any better than here in Canada?
Well, it's actually good, and it's a mixture of a few different juices, but you interrupted my adjusting of our virtual prize shelf because we found out that the 4K camera costs over $200,000.
Wow.
Yes, and there is a customs thing, so we can't get involved in that. We're taking it off the shelf.
Are we really?
Yeah.
That's unprecedented. Camera and operator, actually, you would have gotten, but the expense is too sizable. And frankly, camera operator food costs are through the roof nowadays. One and one from Sale to Tulowitzki. That one shocked him. 1-2.
I think Troy felt that ball was a touch inside. He might have a point there. Chris Sale, pitch number 51 forthcoming.
And it's a good one. Strike three for Sale. 1, 2, 3 innings. 6 in a row retired by the lanky lefty. 1-0.
With the White Sox checking, an official White Sox debit card only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/White Sox to learn more. Wintrust Community Bank, member FDIC.
I'm tempted to award a second Sox Math prize tonight for one specific tweet that we have that came in as Brett Laurie fouls the ball off from R.A. Dickey from Go-Go Sox. Also the same number of people, the answer tonight, also the same number of people not named Steve Stone that gave up home runs to Dwayne Kuiper. Hashtag SoxMath.
Wow.
Ouch, babe. Laurie is single, his first hit of the series.
A cheap shot delivered early in the ball game.
A hilarious cheap shot from Go-Go Sox as Avi Garcia stands in. And he is the man to provide the thunder.
Our fourth drive of the game came on a 3-1 tumbling knuckleball. He took it well out of the ballpark, off the facade, and the dugout. Well, no reaction. Then came on because it is his third home run of the year and the only scoring in the ball game.
Chris Sale is getting used to 1-0 games. And that complete game shutout against the Rays.
Yeah, he would just as soon get a few more, and you get an opportunity right here.
Two 2-0 on Garcia. Three and 0 on Avi Garcia with Deoner Navarro next.
I got to give him the green light only because Dickey has been throwing fastballs 3-0. We'll see what Robin has in mind. See if Dickey goes with that tendency.
It's a strike taken.
Got a fastball right down the middle at 81 miles an hour. So, I mean, when a guy's been doing that most of the evening, it's a big advantage when you have an idea that it's coming.
Laurie has to shorten his lead. Still 3-1 on Garcia. This was the count. He hit his homer on in the third inning. Up and in, ball 4, 2 on, nobody out in the Sox fifth. Let's give you our Sox math winner tonight. Wilson Alvarez win total doesn't matter. Bo Jackson's career home runs, they don't matter. 67, 141. You multiply by 0. Nobody's got a better record than the Sox in the AL. 0 is the answer. Eli Cash Wildcat wins a prize off our virtual prize shelf. Congratulations. A lot of correct answers tonight.
I would assume so. You made it terribly easy.
Come on.
It's almost embarrassingly easy.
That's the new slogan for Sox math. Embarrassingly easy. Ball 1 to Deoner Navarro.
I'm still waiting for Sox archaeology, and that's when I'll get you.
It's being developed in a future civilization. 1-1 to Navarro, who's on a 3-game hit streak.
Bautista has pretty much lost the strong arm he once had. He's in right field, so the Sox are going to run on him.
Navarro chops a bunt. 1-2. I think the sign wasn't on originally, then jumped on 1-1.
Well, you would think probably that was a sign. However, it's very difficult to bunt a knuckleball. And by dropping the head of the bat, you're guaranteed not to do real well.
Navarro to left field, and this gets down. Laurie around third to a stop sign. Does he get back? No, he's out.
Well, what Brett is saying is he got back in, but this is not a particularly good piece of base running because he never picked up Joe McEwing. McEwing all the way was giving him the stop sign because Saunders got to the ball pretty quickly in left field. And there's Joe. You see his hands are up. Laurie never looked at him. Now he thinks he got back in before the tag. And we'll take another look at it.
Oh, yeah, he's in.
Could very well be he's right. And I think this is certainly worth challenging. No, he's in. He's in before the tag, and he also got a forearm to the chin for his efforts.
Robin Ventura has challenged. This is his one challenge. If he gets it correct, he gets the challenge back. If he's wrong, no more challenges for the remainder of the game. We've seen it. All players think they were safe, but Brett sold that one very quickly and with great vigor to Robin.
And from the last angle we had, it looks like he was in before the tag. The throw to the outfield side of third base, and Laurie in with the right hand. Looks like it's on the bag now before the tag gets on, and you can see Dan Isonia. He's blocked out. From where he is, he's trying to get an angle. It looked like he got there a little late to get the angle.
I don't even think the tag was on his hand after he got in. Well, the situation would be either first and second, one out, or bases loaded, nobody out. It's a big call in a 1-0 game. How'd you like to have the job of holding the headsets?
It's a living.
You can't hear what's going on, though. You have to stand idly by. What's the call? We'll find out. He saved. The challenge successful, overturned. Let's go, boys. says the highest ever drafted Canadian.
Well, you can see that mouthpiece that he wears, and he's a grinder.
In just under 2 minutes, the call reversed. Bases loaded. Nobody out. Austin Jackson, who singled on the infield in the third. Inside. It's one of those nights you love replay if you're a Sox fan.
So from the second angle we had, he was back in definitively.
Jackson, left field and hooking.
You might remember way back in the series with the Twins, with the bases loaded, he took one down the line, and I mean, it missed by maybe 3 or 4 inches.
Sox are struggling against left field foul poles this year. They've had 2 arch away, 2-1.
But the bases loaded over the course of his career, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Jackson hammers it toward right center field and splits the gap all the way to the wall. Laurie's home, Avi's home. Stop sign for Navarro. The Sox lead 3-0.
Here's another knuckleball that was up in the zone. And it's RBIs 5 and 6 for Austin Jackson. That one doesn't do a whole lot. Actually, it looked like he tried to throw a fastball by him, falling behind in the count. That at 81 miles an hour.
It's the first RBI for Austin Jackson in his last 9 games. He's at second, Navarro at third. 3-0 Sox and building against R.A. Dickey, who continues to struggle in April.
R.A. Dickey with Chris Sale as his mound opponent. That's one of the big factors of last night's game. You're down 5-1 to their best pitcher, knowing your number 1 is coming tomorrow to pitch the ball game. So you win one, you come back, gives you a tremendous feeling of confidence coming into tonight's game.
Not that this White Sox team was short on confidence in any way.
But a good position to be in. You go on the road for the first game of a road trip, which looks to be pretty tough with both Toronto and Baltimore on the slate.
First place Orioles 11-7. Adam Eaton slashes to left field. Saunders gets there. Navarro tags and scores. 4-0 Sox.
RBI number 4, and Saunders lost this in the lights. He's fortunate to be able to catch it, and that's what it took for Diana Navarro to score. We'll take a look. He loses the ball right here. Now that's a pretty good trick. You turn your head the other way, putting the glove where you believe the ball is going to arrive. He makes the catch, but not before Diana and his flying feet score a run.
Wings on those feet for Diana Navarro. Well, Saunders is a former hockey player, so sometimes that puck will climb into your view, such as that baseball did. Inside to Jimmy Rollins, who is 0 for 2.
Bullpen up and going for the first time tonight. And it's Joe Biagini.
One and one to Rollins. The Jays bullpen has scuffled this year, leading the American League in bullpen losses, including one last night. Called strike. Brett Cecil gave up a couple runs. Pat Venditti as well.
It's been not only that, but they've blown 5 saves.
Boy, Tolley a couple times has reacted strangely to that knuckleball, but can't help it.
It's really difficult to catch that.
Saunders, simpler play this time, and 2 out for Abreu.
You would think in this situation that you might want to put Abreu on.
Yep.
Well, you got first base open. You got a guy who's killed you, coming off a double last inning. Let's see what John Gibbons has in mind. Now it looks for the moment like they're going to pitch to him.
Bautista in right, reaches out and snares it. That fan will trade the end of the inning for a souvenir. Bottom 5 coming up. Sox get 3 more here.
Fifth Third Bank, the Curious Bank.
They're curious as to whether or not the Jays are going to score against Chris Sale tonight. Ball number 1 to Kevin Pillar.
So far, just 1 hit. That being a ringing single leading off the 3rd inning by Darwin Barney.
2-0 on Pillar. Sox come in 14-6, a game and a half up on Kansas City in the Central. Up the ladder on the infield. Abreu, out number 1.
Another example of a pure hitter's count. 2-0. You're looking for a fastball. You're hoping to get it. Chris Sale throws you a fastball, so you can't pick up the spin. It's a fastball spin, but it's 89 miles an hour with his best fastball at 96, 97. So a lot of guys will use that. Rick Sutcliffe parlayed that into a Cy Young Award split season with the Indians and the Cubs, the batting practice fastball.
How difficult is it for Chris Sale as Dominguez takes a strike to manage his arm movement and to make sure the arm movement is the same as it is with the other fastball?
Well, that's the important part, because you either have to choke it back in your hand to slow down the velocity, and some guys will drag the back foot to slow down the velocity. So it depends on, it's a pitcher preference to which you'd like to do, but the key being the same arm angle and the same arm velocity as you do for the 96-mile-an-hour fastball.
2-1 to Dominguez. Now 2-2.
That one looked like might have gotten a piece of Deanna Navarro. Alan Porter asking him if he's okay. Does he need some time? He says, yes, I am, and no, I don't.
In that order. Foul of 3rd from Dominguez. He's up from Buffalo with Drew Hutchison, who started the game 2 days ago, sent back down to the International League's Bisons, which is plural, by the way. Bisons plural.
It's become one of the more popular meats, by the way, in a lot of restaurants.
You're always thinking about food, aren't you?
I try to, yes.
3-2. Fouled back, just short of us.
No, don't be. Wait a second. Now, don't be backpedaling. Those are the kind you charge.
Look,
didn't come up here with a lot of hair on it. Move out, or I will move over and protect you.
Notably, no horizontal movement on that foul ball. To the right side, we are safe and sound, and this baseball is as well. There's a history there, though. When I was in Syracuse doing AAA baseball, we had a game at Lehigh Valley, which is the Phillies AAA team, and I got smoked.
Did you get hit in the head?
The chest.
Wow.
And I had forgotten my chest protector that day.
When do you think it's going to heal?
2022, the doctor said.
Well, don't worry about it, because I was a pretty good fielding pitcher, and you can bet that I will be bailing out just like you.
When you tried your best, as Sale does. Strike three. His third strikeout looking tonight.
Well, he's changed speeds very well. Here's another example of a slider down the middle, but an off-speed slider. And when you haven't seen it, and Dominguez hasn't seen it for a while, you can't pull the trigger.
2 out, nobody on. Darwin Barney, who has the lone hit tonight for the Jays, takes a high strike one. So again, if you're going to say you're going to take care of me in a situation like that, you have to at least show it.
True.
Slightly. Laurie to first. And a 1-2-3 inning here in the 5th for Chris Sale, 4-0. Stands for magenta, M for magenta. It's a good look.
It is a good look, and a better look with Chris Sale on the mound in a 4-0 lead.
Nice segue, by the way. That's where I was going. Chris Sale makes it look so easy some nights, doesn't he?
Well, tonight, it doesn't appear that he's really going all out with the fastball, because he's tricked a lot of these guys with the off-speed slider, as well as what's known as a batting practice fastball. In the meantime, he's got a one-hit shutout through 5.
First pitch swinging. Todd Frazier lofts it to foul ground, and Dominguez has out number 1. Time for tonight's edition of America's fastest growing sensation, Sticks and Stone. How did you do against Danny Ainge?
Danny was a very good golfer and a terrific basketball player, as you well know. He could not hit a curveball with a canoe paddle. So I think I did very well against him.
You know, Bulls fans in Chicago may remember Danny Ainge for his tenure with the Phoenix Suns in the playoff series back in the 90s, but he was an accomplished, as you mentioned, baseball player, golfer, maybe not curveball hitter. Second base, Darwin Barney, and the former Gold Glover has out number 2.
Well, he shows you why he won that Gold Glove with a fine play to his left. In fact, this is almost exactly the way that Brett Lawrie made the play early in the game. The ball will move slowly off the artificial surface, but when it gets to the dirt, it really picks up speed, and their infielders, at least, are familiar with it.
That's new dirt here inside Rogers Center this year, as Brett Lawrie, who singled and scored last time, stands in and fouls it away. Danny Ainge, 665 at bats with Toronto Blue Jays, a .220 career hitter. Great shooter,
but making it to the major leagues in 2 sports, pretty good. I remember Danny is a man that left John Paxson when they flipped the ball into Horace Grant, only to turn around as it was flipped back out with a look of terror on his face.
Realizing he would be on highlight reels in the background for decades. How'd you do against Danny Ainge? We'll find out. He was 0 for 4. That's a lot of zeros.
Well, he was a right-handed hitter, and if you're a good fastball hitter, that was good for me because I didn't throw many.
Especially that year you won your Cy Young, right?
True.
Bautista, a slow back pedal, and a 1-2-3 inning for R.A. Dickey. He's retired 6 in a row since the 2 runs came home off Jackson's bat. Just 1 hit on the board against Chris Sale tonight. He gets a couple lefties to open this home 6th, and Josh Tolle has an 0-1 count on him.
Tried to bunt his way on last time up, only to pop it up, which came right after a leadoff base hit by Darwin Barney, the only hit of the game.
Left field side, Melky Cabrera was playing toward the line, and that's why you shift. White Sox fans, celebrate your Mexican heritage at the ballpark on May 5th with Cinco de Miller, presented by Miller Lite. The White Sox are offering specially priced tickets to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, and the first 10,000 fans at the game get a free t-shirt presented by Miller Lite. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com/Cinco. Sox fans in full force here in Toronto.
We had a lot of them last night, and many of them back tonight. As for Toronto, their Raptors in the playoffs and playing as we are playing, probably keeping the attendance down a touch.
Raptors used to play in this building before the new arena went up. Former Sky Dome, now Rogers Center, following Exhibition Stadium, which was the original home of the Jays. Steve Stone played there, graced the field with his presence. 1-2 on Saunders.
First game ever played was snowed out. It was 77. It was against the Sox.
Do you recall who won that game?
Well, the next day it was played after being snowed out, and Doug Ault, forever known as the Canadian Babe Ruth, because he hit 2 home runs that opening game, and the Blue Jays won it.
Strike 3 on the outside corner. Sale, all of his strikeouts tonight looking.
This is starting to heat it up. That was 94 on the corner. You see where Navarro wants it, and Chris fills up the glove, and Saunders just starts walking back before he even hears the call.
2 out for Donaldson. 73 pitches only for Sale through 5 2/3, and chopped right at the plate. Remember who the first pitcher was against the Jays for your team? You remember who started for the Sox that day?
I don't, but then again, I can't remember where my car is parked most of the time, so that wasn't 77.
Somewhere away from my car, because it doesn't want to make my car jealous. 1-1 to Donaldson. It was Ken Brett.
Well, I remember him in a famous shot, they still have it up, with 2 bats and shin guards skiing his way across the infield that first game. Kenny Brett, #1 draft choice of the Boston Red Sox, threw 100. Had a wonderful arm. Then he got hurt and things didn't go very well for him. But George Brett will tell you of his late brother that he couldn't do anything as well as Ken Brett.
Left side, Melky Cabrera one more time, waiting for it to come down and keeping his feet all at once. The Melky Cabrera breakdancing videos, sold separately.
With Robin Ventura by logging on to WGNTV.com and click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner for the latest stats and information. The Sox Game Zone is powered by Dodd Camera. That's a family-owned outfit for 125 years, handling all your photographic needs. Dodd Camera, where the focus is on Don Cooper right now. No, it's on you. That's where the focus is for the Dodd Camera people.
Strong ad lib though there.
You have to watch the screen every now and then.
Welcome to television.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Top of the 7th inning, Avi Garcia cracked the scoring with a home run in the 3rd, and there's strike 1. Those virtual managers, by the way, may feel better than Robin Ventura, who has come down with quite the cold, along with a good chunk of the coaching staff here in Toronto.
It's sweeping through the clubhouse. Fortunately, it's affected most of the coaching staff as opposed to the players.
It is very contagious.
Yes, and we're going to move you about 20 feet to your right.
As that ball slides through past Barney, you mentioned the speedy infield with the new dirt. Maybe came into play there.
Otherwise, Darwin Barney probably has that. Sometimes it's a question of, can you read it off the bat? You see where he shaded, he's kind of up the middle. And this ball is hit at straightaway second base, and a very good shortstop couldn't come up with it.
So Avi Garcia in this series is 4 for 6. With 3 runs scored and a homer and a double.
Couldn't have come at a better time for him or the Sox.
He also walked his last time up, which is good news as well.
The bottom part of the order has been getting it done tonight. In fact, that is who's getting it done. Only 1 hit with the first 5 hitters.
Navarro, right field. Batista back. It is gone. 2-run home run to Yonder Navarro, and the Sox have exploded for 6.
Second home run of the year. 6 driven in. And the second home run of the ball game for the Sox. So Navarro, who played here last year, wasn't happy with the playing time, had a chance to be a free agent, decided to leave, and he gets another one of those knuckleballs that doesn't do anything. This one staying in the middle of the plate, and Navarro rides it out. And R.A. Dickey can't believe that one left the park, but it did. And he's going to leave the mound.
He looked like he just saw Elvis Presley in the right field bleachers.
I mean, not that unusual that you give up a home run. So as Dickey trots out, we'll step out and be back after these messages.
White Sox face the Minnesota Twins Saturday, May 7th. First 20,000 fans get one of these, a Chris Sale K-Counter bobblehead presented by Wintrust Community Banks. Visit WhiteSox.com to purchase your tickets today.
That's one of the things we have on our prize shelf normally. And we've got a new pitcher in the ball game. It's Joe Biagini. He's 0-1 despite having no earned run average. 4 2/3 innings, 4 hits, but you see the 4 walks. And R.A. Dickey, for whatever reason, does not fare well against our Sox tonight. No exception.
Deoner Navarro, the 2-run homer that knocks Dickey out of the game. Right center field, and falling in as it twists to right, and Bautista. Jackson 3 for 3.
On our Xfinity Speed, it's Austin Jackson last inning. With the bases loaded, he comes up and drives it in the gap. Driving in 2 runs, giving him 6. And putting a little daylight between our Sox and their Jays. The Speed Replay is brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV.
Sox are changing the way people experience TV as well right now. The offense has tuned it up with 6 runs today, 7 yesterday. On the verge of 15 and 6. Still some outs to get, but good signs all over the board this evening.
And Chris Sale, after pitching some pretty tight ball games most of this year, has been the beneficiary of these 6 runs. It's been the Thunder down under. 7, 8, and 9 in the batting order. 7 for 8 with a couple of home runs. They've scored 5. They've driven in 5. How about that? Garcia, Navarro, and Jackson getting it done tonight.
Fisted by Eaton over third, and it dunks in for Adam Eaton. 2 hits now in a row upon the entry of Biagini.
He got that fastball in where he wanted it, but Adam able to just muscle it down the left field line.
Joe Biagini, who was born in Menlo Park, California.
I used to live just down the road from that when I played for the Giants in
Really?
Foster City.
Did they call you the Wizard of Foster City?
I don't believe so. They
With
called me a
Menlo
lot.
Park being so close, I thought you
called me a lot
remind
of
me of
things.
Edison.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. Nice area, though.
Strike one. You played for all those creatively named minor league clubs in the Giants organization, right?
Giants didn't want to forget what the name of their minor league teams were, so they called them all the Giants. Fresno Giants, Amarillo Giants, and Phoenix Giants, as well as we know, those San Franciscans.
Ball and a strike on Rollins. What's it like as a hitter to adjust to a quote-unquote regular pitcher after the knuckleballer?
It's a lot easier when you're up 6. I think all the hitters breathe a sigh of relief. R.A. Dickey's not all that easy to hit, but fortunately that one just fouled. But our ball club, for whatever reason, against him has always had luck, and nobody can really figure out why. Talking with Buck Martinez before the game, he said that he's seen some signs that Dickey is going to have a big year, but for whatever reason he gets off to slow starts all the time, and so it's probably not much of a surprise, although he thought the knuckleball was pretty good in the early going.
Jackson at second, Eaton at first, and Tolley with a brilliant block.
This curveball in the dirt. Right-handed curveball, when it hits the dirt, backs up. Tolley catches it in the middle of the chest protector, and no advancement.
Fastball at 95 for Rollins. And one away.
Joe's father, Rob, briefly played with the Giants organization in 1982. And he said meeting Willie Mays and Barry Bonds after being drafted was one of his early career highlights.
How about that?
Well, you got one of the greatest players, arguably, in Willie Mays, and Barry Bonds had a spectacular career.
He just had his homecoming. Marlins were at San Francisco.
I think Barry's done a great job with Giancarlo Stanton, convincing him to try to swing for power.
Well, the Marlins early in this year 7-11. Sox will play the NL East this year, and worth mentioning, Atlanta at this moment is 4-15. The Braves have 3 home runs in 19 games. That is not a lot of homers. Adonis Garcia, Drew Stubbs, Freddie Freeman, the 3 Braves homers. 2-0 on Abreu. Crushed foul.
Eugenie's fastball is up there at 94, 95 miles an hour.
Sox have 2 runs in the inning. 3 in the 5th, 1 in the 3rd. A series win looming after taking game 1 yesterday. 2-1 to Abreu. Big chopper into right field. Here comes Jackson. Bautista's throw is offline. It's 7-0.
Joe McEwing getting an opportunity to run on Jose Bautista, and they did just that. Play isn't close at the plate. Base hit, run batted in, adding to the lead, and that sends Pete Walker out to the mound to talk with Biagini. Chris Sale now wants to just stay loose. All he's got to do is throw strikes, which he's been doing all night. After a couple of early walks, he's found his rhythm, and now he's starting to throw that fastball again like he can. But when you limit this lineup to just 1 hit in 6 innings, you're just fooling him. That's what he's done. He's had him out on the front foot. He's had him late on whatever fastballs he's thrown. Been a brilliant job of pitching.
Frazier jammed. Tulowitzki. This is one of the best offenses in baseball. Numerically last year, put up huge runs, even as compared to the second place team. And they came in hot.
891 runs they scored last year. No other team in the major leagues scored as many as 800. So the Yankees were second in their division. They were 126 runs, I think, behind Toronto. So it's pretty amazing performance offensively for these guys. One of the things they've got to do, and John Gibbons knows this being a former catcher, they've got to straighten out that bullpen, because you can have a whole lot of offense. If that bullpen can't come in and shut you down, you're going to have a problem all year long.
Well, you said it yesterday, 2-0 on Melky. The strength of the bullpen is for sure the very back of it with Osuna.
Yeah, Osuna's really talented. He's a young guy with no fear whatsoever. They thought at first that Drew Storen coming in, Osuna was going to have some competition and maybe lose that closer role.
Up the middle, Tulowitzki, back of the bag, rangy play, inning over. 3 more across for the Sox. 7-0 the lead in Toronto.
Scoreboard and schedule.
Well, the Metropolitans had won 4 in a row. They're trailing today. The Tigers down 3 to Oakland. Detroit came in 4 back of the Sox in the Central. And later on, San Diego, San Francisco, Miami at the Dodgers in a very condensed NL West right now, with the Arizona Diamondbacks 11-10, a game and a half out of the Dodgers.
Some of you folks out there that might be seeing the White Sox ball club for one of the few times this year, this type of pitching has been going on all year long. The surprising part of tonight's performance has been the offense. Now what you're seeing is a team that usually doesn't score early but does score late. No exception tonight with 3 in the 7th. That's been going on. 32 runs from the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings this year. Heading into tonight, make it 35 now.
Breaking ball, strike 3. Sale gets rid of Batista on 3 pitches.
It certainly is of note that every one of the strikeouts has been looking, and that's a perfect pitch. Garcia, like most right-handers, gives up on that slider because it's coming from way off the plate, only to snap over the outside part of the plate, and he can't pull the trigger.
Encarnacion now takes strike 1. What does all 5 of the strikeouts looking mean to you?
They're just not picking up Chris Sale. They can't pick up the velocity. They certainly can't pick up the location.
Except maybe there. Jackson, and the shutout is over.
Third home run of the year, and Encarnacion puts a charge into it, hits it way back, driven in 15. Throws a fastball at 92. Encarnacion gets every bit of it. And Chris Sale gives up his 3rd home run of the year. That one was hit awfully far.
Well, that's a visit to the restaurant in center field for Encarnacion, who's now 5 for 11 against Sale in his career. 2 strikes on Tulowitzki. Chris Sale, coming into the game, has one of 2 complete games this year in the American League. The other, Phil Hughes of the Twins.
That's surprising early in the season, and that's surprising that Chris Sale would be one of those guys, and that was the 1-0 affair in Tampa Bay. I mean, he needed every bit of that. Finally, the Sox broke through in the 9th with a run, and Chris made it hold up.
Swatted to right, Adam Eaton for out number 2. Opening play today, Adam Eaton had the best defensive run saved of any fielder in Major League Baseball, up to 8 with yesterday's performance.
Well, you factor in that he's been throwing the ball exceptionally well, and he's turned into very much of a plus right fielder. I mean, he's shifted over from center, and there was no adjustment period whatsoever. Even in spring training, it looked like he had been there all his life.
And again, for Sox fans who don't recall or didn't watch spring training or whatever it might be, he didn't play the outfield for the first couple weeks of spring training after that surgery you were talking about.
Well, it certainly has healed completely, and for whatever reason, he's gotten much more accurate.
Base hit for Pilar with 2 out here in the 7th.
Let's take a look at last night. Tulowitzki hits it off the end of the bat, and this is the 3rd base. A pinpoint throw, and he cuts down Encarnacion. And then what looked like 2 bases didn't turn out to be. There's a 1-run lead at that point. It was a very big play in the ball game.
We mentioned defensive runs saved a couple of times. It's essentially how many runs you've kept off the board as compared to the average fielder. And Adam Eaton has 8 so far. And by comparison to the average fielder, meaning 0 is, you hope, the average number. Jackson in center calls off Eaton. And the inning comes to an end. Jays are on the board, and Encarnacion makes it so. Still 7-1 for Sale.
Sox lead 7-1. They've out-hit the Blue Jays 11-3. Chris Sale's gone 7. You have 3 hits and 1 run. The towering home run by Encarnacion. 7, 8, and 9 in the Sox order. 7 for 8, 6 runs, 2 home runs, 5 driven in, and a walk to go with it. That's brought to you by the Honda Dream Garage Sales Event, now at your Honda dealer.
That was an enjoyable recap.
Well, this has been an enjoyable streak for the Sox. The 3-game sweep of Texas and coming here. This one certainly not over yet, but seemingly well in hand.
It's a nice looking curveball from Biagini.
Looked pretty good last inning. He had some trouble with the control of it, but he's got pretty decent stuff.
Tulowitzki showing off the glove on the go, out number 1. Not the place you want to hit it on the Toronto infield. White Sox fans, grab Sox seats with the StubHub app. Take the price and location of seats, and they show you which tickets at StubHub give you the best deal. Get the StubHub app today. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Chicago White Sox. Some of the foodstuffs here at Rogers Center. And a souvenir baseball. Why don't you go downstairs and sign that?
Because it would devalue the ball.
Garcia fouls it away.
And those
Come
look
on
like,
now.
and they look like very nice folks.
We have people clamoring on Twitter for a Steve Stone signature Altoids tin. So you're not going to devalue that baseball.
Well, Altoids are different, certainly.
Than baseballs, I would hope so. Ball 1 to Avi Garcia, who's had a great night so far. Evidently, Adam Eaton is the one that gave the baseball to that little one. Do you like the ball more now?
Yes.
To third, Dominguez. Oh, that's good looking play at third base now.
That's a spectacular play at third. Avi bidding for his 3rd hit to keep his perfect night alive, and Matt Dominguez diving to his right. Our Mazda replay is a spectacular effort at third base. Biagini gets a fastball down, Dominguez diving toward the line. He's got some time, even though Garcia runs well, and he gets it there a step ahead of Avi.
Two down for Deanna Navarro. Well, this is a road trip where third base doesn't get a whole lot easier with the Orioles coming up for 4 games.
Well, Manny Machado is off to a great start. He's one of the best third basemen in all of baseball, and we're getting some great third basemen in the game, as well as some wonderful young shortstops, and that's been one of the revelations of the last couple of years. Those guys on the left side of the infield particularly are getting awfully good.
You think that's where the best young talent is right now?
To me, it's been. I mean, you know, you have, obviously you have, and you can consider them still young talent in Trout and Bryce Harper, but
sure,
the guys just coming up. I mean, we've seen it get better and better on the left side. Carlos Correa, one of those guys at shortstop. Lindor from Cleveland, outstanding.
Two and one for Navarro, whose 2-run homer last time up gave the Sox their first 2 runs of that 7th inning. They tacked on 1 more. In the air left side, and no play.
Biagini, a big guy, 6'5", knocking at the door at 240 pounds.
What was your maximum playing weight?
Probably 182.
It's very precise.
Well, only because it was very difficult to spread it out over that 5'3" frame.
3-2 on Navarro.
I think the pitchers are one of the guys that you get a weight you're comfortable at. You don't necessarily have to look good at the beach. You have to be able to perform your job. And some guys just feel better if they're heavier.
Ball 4. Inning stays alive for Austin Jackson.
Been a lot of guys in baseball that have been told by various folks that they might be too heavy, but they were successful pitching, and then they went on to try to lose some weight, only to come back and find out they couldn't get anybody out, and they were then told, go back to where you were because you're looking pretty good when you're winning games.
I mean, look, Bartolo Colon is not a small guy.
No,
at
he's
this point.
never been a small guy.
And he is the oldest player in the major leagues right now.
And among all those flamethrowers, he's one of the precise pitchers in all of baseball. Most amazing thing about Bartolo Colon, and the Sox had him, they loved him, he was a wonderful teammate, is that he throws mostly fastballs. He's not overwhelming with it. He can just put it exactly where he wants to and make it move exactly how he wants to, and keeps on winning.
He's on that staff with Noah Syndergaard, who was involved in that R.A. Dickey trade.
That's one that Toronto might look back and think what could have been.
Tolley's gotten lit up a couple of times tonight. 2-2. That trade included as well Travis d'Arnaud going to the Mets.
And they got Josh Tolley back, as well as R.A. Dickey, and Dickey had won a Cy Young Award. They gave away a whole lot of the future for a good part of the present.
2-2. Curveball in the dirt. Jackson thrown out by Tolley. 2-out walk for the Sox. No runs across. Chris Sale back out for the 8th.
WGNTV.com, sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your local nationwide insurance agent, serving the area for 38 years. To join the nation, visit jeffvuk.com because Nationwide is on your side.
I'm on the side of the people doing the synchronized dance to Hooked on a Feelin' between half innings.
Chris Sale could get hooked on getting 7 runs a game. If he does that, he's probably going to win 28 or 9 this year. And it was really nice to hear some of our older viewers and older fans texting in, tweeting in.
You hear your texts?
Yeah, I'm one of the few guys that do get audible texts. Jack Ruby is watching. It's nice to see the older fellow being able to stay up for the game tonight. Such is the excitement this year of White Sox baseball.
Keeping Jack Ruby awake.
Indeed.
Among others. Darwin Barney, first pitch hunting, flies it on the infield. Frazier in control, 1 down. Join the 2016 Sox Pride Club for exclusive ticket offers and seating locations all season long, game day opportunities, club auctions, ballpark tours, membership gifts, and more. Visit SoxPrideClub.com to join today. You know what we should do, Stoney?
What's that?
We should put a membership to the Sox Pride Club on the prize shelf, or the Sox Prize Club, which also sounds like a great time.
Well, that's easy for you to say, but
sure is.
Personally, I think it's a great idea. We've got to talk with the people through our clearinghouse in Omaha to see if we can get that okay.
I knew you were going to do something to get them jobs, and it's very nice of you to make sure that they're still employed after no longer maneuvering your tweets to your tablet.
Yeah,
Strike
now I
one from Sale.
Broken out in the tweeting department.
You have?
Yeah, I think twice this week.
You're the most improved tweeter. Oh, and 2 on Tolley.
We're going to show you one of the toughest things that Chris Sale has had to do this evening. Coming up if Tolley would foul one off.
Takes a ball, 1 and 2. So we can't show it until a foul ball, Steve? Is that what you're saying?
No, we can't.
Okay.
It's in the bylaws.
How about a high breaking ball? Got to wait.
We're going to keep it in abeyance, counselor.
More replay layaway. 2-2. Strike 3. Is that good enough? We see it now?
So see, yeah, when you have a ball in your hand and you're pretty much assured that you're getting ready to pitch, and then your catcher decides, well, you know what, I'll throw you another one. And this one almost hits you in the head. That is the toughest thing that's happened to Chris Sale tonight. Such is the dominance of Chris Sale. 1 run, 3 hits through 7 2/3.
That is a very lifelike Chris Sale K-counter bobblehead out on the mound. 2 down for Saunders. Can you imagine if Navarro would have caught him with that ball? Herm Schneider would have gone through the roof. Eaton giving chase, has no play. Saunders is into second base with a 2-out double.
Well, Saunders, who led off the ball game hitting a shot to Brett Lowry, this time gets out in front of a rolling slider and takes it down the line for a 2-base hit.
Sale still short of 100 in the pitch column tonight. Ball 1. Laurie cheating toward the bag has the final out of the inning. 7-1 your score. Chris continuing a smooth night. The #1 live streaming sports service delivers every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. It includes a free subscription to At Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details.
We got a new pitcher coming in the ball game, and it is Drew Storen. 0-1 this year in 7 1/3. ERA way up there, but in saves 1 for 1.
Midwest kid in his own right, out of the great state of Indiana.
You knew him in the Nationals organization.
Got to know him a little bit in AAA. Came up through Syracuse. He's had a really interesting career, hasn't he? Thought to be a possible closer, had the closer's job. Then it was the Nationals going out to get Soriano. They go out to get Papelbon. Bullpen never really fit him in as the closer, other than in that playoff series when he got burned by Pete Kozma of the Cardinals.
Well, look, here's a guy that saved 43 games back in 2011. When you do that in 73 appearances, you've shown the organization that you can get it done. But then you fall out of favor for whatever reason, even though last year he saved 29 and had a more than respectable 3.44 ERA. He's a talented guy, and for a while in battling Osuna for the closer role, looked like he might have the inside track, and that was not to be.
Strike called. Eaton's going to have to come back for a 3-2. Does the strike zone widen on strike 2 when you believe you've walked on strike 1?
Usually not. That was borderline pitch. It went Storen's way. One of the guys we haven't seen is Russell Martin, who's had some neck spasms, and he's been out of the series.
Eaton a drive, right field. You said it earlier, he's going to start leaving the ball yard. He does tonight. Adam Eaton makes it 8-1 Sox.
First home run of the year. Adam Eaton has driven in 2 tonight. He drove in 2 last night. He's got 5 for the year. And it just seemed to me that the man who was second on this team in home runs was going to start exploding the baseball. And this one, a no-doubter. Storen in for 1 hitter. And Adam Eaton, who thought he had walked, will gladly take the long ball.
Couple rows over the Donaldson target. And strike 1 to Jimmy Rollins. That is the 9th multi-hit game for Adam Eaton this year as Rollins tests the alleyway and sets it down in there. Rollins gunning it for second, standing up. Jimmy Rollins, a double.
4 runs late in the ball game. Sox had 32 in the 7th, 8th, and 9th coming into this, and that sinker away, driven in the gap. Bautista gets to it, and the throw, he just doesn't have much on it anymore.
So Abreu now who has 2 hits, including an RBI single, facing Storen.
The guy that won that battle for the closer role, Roberto Osuna, is one of the real talented young pitchers around. There's another guy, again, you don't hear a lot of, but he's got the 6 saves so far. Been in 9 games, ERA at 2.89. He throws rockets. Pat Venditti, who can throw equally well with both arms. Throwing in the pen.
It's the only time you'll ever see Pat Venditti, left-hand pitcher, and the guy warming up with his right hand. He does both, folks. I mean, you look at what Venditti's done, and he's been kind of toiling in the minors, but to throw with both arms, that could be a huge asset if you want to keep him on your playoff roster against switch hitters. Force him one way or the other. There he is, doing both.
It's pretty amazing that when you've got a son growing up, and the toughest part is finding the equipment so that he can only use one glove. I mean, instead of buying him 2 gloves and making him change depending on what he wants to do, they were able to do that. And he's had his shot in the major leagues.
Chopper by Abreu gets the runner over. Rollins to third. And 1 out. That first at bat that Venditti had against a switch hitter, you can watch it online somewhere. The catcher's name was Ralph Henriquez. They were playing in the New York Penn League. And Henriquez went from the left-hand batter's box to the right-hand one. Venditti switched his glove, went the other direction with his glove. Henriquez called time, went over to the other batter's box. They kept doing it back and forth. The umpire, I mean, it's a New York Penn League umpire. He's not used to any of this stuff. He said, you know, let me call balls and strikes for a moment.
Make a decision.
I'm new here. And finally, they put a rule into effect for Venditti. And he has to choose which hand he's going to use to declare it.
It's pretty easy when you look at the splits. Figure out what side you want to face somebody. And you look at runs batted in this year by Todd Frazier. Looks a lot like the ball club. He gets better as the game moves along. And last night had the key hit. He drove in the tying and winning runs with a ringing double to left field. That was against Gavin Floyd. It looks like Zach Putnam's going to come in to pick up an inning. There's a look at Zach, who has been doing very well lately. In fact, last night, an inning in the third of perfect baseball in relief of Miguel Gonzalez. That really shut down what to that point had been a high-powered offense. The Jays had 11 hits in 5 1/3.
Fouled away with Putnam there. Reminded that we've not seen White Sox beat writer Scott Merkin on this trip. Putnam, a Michigan man. Merkin, a big Michigan guy. Scott has decided maybe just to stay home on this trip. I don't know. Come on, Scott.
He's missing a good one so far.
Pick up your game. 2-2 to Frazier. Broken bat flare, center field. Another late inning RBI for Todd Frazier. It's 9-1.
Boy, if anything, you know, scoring that all-important 9th run seems to me secures the pick to click for Todd Frazier. He reaches out, cracks his bat, driving in his 13th run of the year.
That was a shameful pick to click lobby. Even more shameful is that Jimmy Rollins scored that 9th run. So if it's so important, you would think Rollins might get the pick to click nod tonight.
True, because at the end of the day, a double is better than a single.
Right side and through. Melky Cabrera with his first hit tonight.
And with that base hit, it means that every hitter in the Sox lineup has at least 1 hit, and John Gibbons is coming out. Drew Storen just can't get it done, and John's going to have to make yet another change.
I'm reminded that the crew had Avi Garcia in picks to click tonight, so our very terrible pitches will go by the wayside. We'll step aside. New pitcher coming for the Jays.
There's a look at Pat Venditti. 9-point ERA. He came on last night for a third of an inning, gave up a run on a hit and a walk and a strikeout.
So the switch pitcher is on to face Brett Lawrie, and ball one. So as the story goes, when Venditti was 7, his father figured out that Mizuno in Japan made a 6-fingered glove. So dad asks son to trace out on a piece of paper his fingers so they could send it to Japan. Dad calls Japan a couple of times, calls Mizuno. Takes a while for him to find somebody who, number one, understands him, number two, understands the request. They send the traced pictures over, and they send a glove back. At age 7, Pat Venditti got his first ambidextrous glove.
It's really a shame that they hadn't done that earlier in baseball's golden years, because Mordecai Three-Finger Brown could have afforded 2 of them.
You get a deal on those. One and two on Lawrie. Outside. So as the story goes further, dad takes a trip from Omaha, where the family lived, to San Francisco to pick up the glove after it came across from Japan. Dad comes home. Pat is waiting at the airport for this box with a glove in it. And now he's in the majors. 3-2 on Brett Lawrie.
He throws harder from the right side. Fastball up to 86 miles an hour. And from the left side, he uses a lot of off-speed stuff, sweeping breaking balls mostly.
Outside low, Lawrie draws a walk. And the Sox have had 5 base runners in this inning. You want late offense? You have come to the right place. 47% of the runs. You mentioned the total number earlier. 32 of the runs coming in, 47% in the 7th, 8th, 9th this year.
And tomorrow night in the series finale, Jose Quintana against Marco Estrada. Estrada, pretty good pitcher, as is Jose. Jose 2-1, Estrada 1-1.
What's the anatomy of this start that looks like it's going to be going to 15-6 for the Sox? Why do you think it's been such a hot start?
I think it's the team belief in itself. And we saw it in spring training for a team that was just put together. At the time, a lot of folks wondered just exactly why this was, with a team that hadn't played together but had the first winning spring Sox had since 2004. And so they just picked it up, knowing that they had to get off to a good start. I mean, when you take a look at the schedule and realize that most of the games are played away, only one off day are the first 28 days. So you had to come out of the box quickly, and that's what happened. Knowing that Kansas City was going to be pretty good, and they have proven to be pretty good, it was essential for the Sox to get off to a great start, and they have.
Fouled away by Garcia. This is the best start in 20 games since that 2005 World Series team that opened 16-4. Difference is there, most of that damage came in the division.
And the overwhelming amount of the early games are played out of the division.
Sox do have a sweep against Minnesota to their name. Garcia hooking to right center, diving play by Kevin Pillar. Frazier scores. 10-1, could have been more.
Just an example of what we talked about was the ability of Pillar in center field to take away runs. Makes a great play. The terrific night for Avi Garcia continues. The only time he was retired was a spectacular play by Matt Dominguez last inning. So here is sacrifice fly. Puts the Sox into double figures.
Would you say he's one of the pillars of their defense?
He is the pillar of their defense.
(10-1) Sox here in the 9th.
We'll probably be able to erase that from the tape. Won't we?
Navarro against Venditti from the left-hand side now. We've seen both the right-handed and the left-handed version.
For the first time, the Sox score more than 7. And they're doing it behind their ace, Chris Sale, who's going to go 5-0 for the second time in his career. 5-0 in 5 starts. Matt Latos 4-0 in 4 starts.
Two and one on Navarro. Chance for a sweep tomorrow for the Sox. Another 6:07 Central Time start, 7:07 here in Toronto.
Then it's off to Baltimore. The Orioles 11-7 heading into tonight's game. They are trailing in the top of the 8th inning at Tampa Bay, 3-1 to the Rays, who are starting to play some pretty good baseball. If the Rays hang on, they'll actually move to 500, a team that got off to a slow start. They weren't hitting anything, and now with their very good pitching, which they have, they're starting to play better.
Saw Blake Snell come up from AAA for one start. That's a very talented arm in their system. Former Ray right there, Deanna Navarro.
Deanna, a former a lot of things. Fortunately, a current Sox catcher.
Former home run hitter as well earlier tonight.
He's also one of the few catchers left standing. In a tough position for the White Sox this year.
Hector Sanchez called up today from AAA Charlotte with the injury to Kevin Smith yesterday. Encarnacion has out number 3. Sox get 3 more. Eaton a homer. Frazier at RBI. Avi Garcia a sac fly. Double figures tonight. Run innings this evening and an extra pitcher today for the Sox on the mound after Sale.
Zach Putnam, who was very good last night, 1-0 ERA, 352. Batting average against, always a telling number, 185. If a team is hitting, or the league is hitting against you at 250, that means you've given up 9 hits per 9 innings. Anything less than that is good. Anything less than 2 is special. And Putnam finding that splitter last night was brilliant in an inning and a third. Perfect baseball. Slamming the door on what was a red hot team to that point. To give way to Jennings and Albers and Robertson. And then the offense came through for a big comeback win.
Pitch hitter for the Jays, Ezekiel Carrera.
He started the ball game last night, had a couple of hits, and he's been swinging the bat well.
Carrera, 9 for his last 19.
When Michael Saunders went down with a hamstring tweak, and that's all it was, because after 3 days he was back in the lineup, Carrera got a chance to play, and he hasn't stopped hitting yet. Benched tonight because you don't want him to face Chris Sale and get depressed.
That's a side effect of
Yeah,
Sale.
well, that's what happens usually when left-handers play him, especially left-handers who don't play every day.
How much can one game, though, really affect a mentality of a hitter?
I think it's something where, in this case, you want Kevin Pillar in the lineup. You have to have him as your everyday center fielder. So you give him an off day, and you're not going to rest Bautista, certainly. That doesn't happen. And Saunders has been swinging the bat very well. So
down goes Carrera, 1 out.
And Carrera just took a seat tonight. Probably will not play tomorrow night against Jose Quintana. And there you look at that splitter. It just dives in the zone and disappears. And 2 outs to go.
Putnam against Ryan Goins, pinch hitting in the 9th. Encarnacion pinch hit for. He has the only RBI and the only run scored, a solo homer in the 7th for Encarnacion against Sale. Sox trailed yesterday 5-1, came back 6 unanswered, and tonight, before the Jays scored, the Sox had put up 7, so it was 13 runs in a row the last 2 nights for the Sox.
Goins is a master defensively, and that's his biggest contribution to this ball club. He's another man who started last night but went 0 for 4.
Putnam to Goins. He's got strike 3. Back-to-back strikeouts for Putnam. Back-to-back outings.
We told you that splitter was getting better and better. And here's an example of Goins getting over the top of one, and a nice stop by Navarro, who will be getting the lion's share of the catching. Even though Hector Sanchez was called up, he will catch occasionally. And until Alex Avila is healthy again, he's seeing a lot of Navarro, which is not a bad thing, as Justin Smoke comes on, representing the 27th out.
Use him if you got him for Gibbons tonight. 3 straight pinch hitters here in the 9th.
Wow.
Checked his swing. And strike 2. Well, in a 10-1 game, probably not going to get that call.
Yeah, if it's close, I think you best be swinging away.
Two strikes.
So Chris Sale went 8 innings, gave up a run on 4 hits with a couple of walks and 6 strikeouts. Was absolutely brilliant once again tonight. And that record will move to 5-0.
Maybe with this pitch, 1-2. And that'll do it. The Sox with a blowout win in Toronto and can go for the sweep tomorrow night.
Well, there you look at Adam Eaton running in. He had his first home run of the year. Plenty of offense tonight in double figures for the first time this year, and behind Chris Sale. The Sox in a rare blowout, looking for the sweep tomorrow night.
Bullpen saver this evening. We'll wrap it for you coming next. 10-1 Sox.